This is such a stunning morning. I really don't have any words. I'm just not going to say anything for a bit. So this unit right here is occupied by a single middle-aged woman who is an unmarried mother. She has one kid and one dog. And so when she's home, you hear it. The dog barks a lot, the kid runs around, starts shouting. It's not a silent situation. Yesterday, she's been gone pretty much the whole time that I've been down here, aside for maybe the first 4 or 5 days where she was very audibly in her unit. Yesterday, she loaded up her car and left. She hadn't been in that unit for a couple of weeks anyway, and she had her dog with her, and obviously she took the dog when she left. There has been an insane amount of smacking noises coming from that unit during this past night, and a lot of marijuana smoke this morning when I woke up, and it was filling the room where I sleep, which is not Dad's room. So I'm not sure why there's somebody smoking excessive amounts of marijuana in a unit where the verifiable owner and evident only occupant, besides a dog and a kid, smoking marijuana to the point where I have to keep the windows and doors wide open this morning. I'm trying to ventilate this space. It's a beautiful morning. It's just stunning. It's maybe 81 degrees, not too hot, not too humid. And I just want to focus on what a gorgeous morning this is, but there's an insane amount of marijuana smoke coming from the vacant, currently unoccupied unit behind this wall. And slamming and banging. There's somebody who gets disruptive when I do certain things but not others, and there has been the continuous use of the same exact directed energy device that a psychopath and a sex offender named Jasmine Irizarry has bragged about using to electronically assault me when I'm up in my building at the Greenville Group's location in Boston. The property manager of the Greenville Group is a sociopath, according to my personal experience, named Oleg Eliseyev. 6 separate individuals have come up to me over the last 3 years, none of whom knew each other, and informed me that Mr. Eliseyev is a member of Russian organized crime. And they put this in different ways, but it was the same exact message. Watch out, your landlord is crooked, they play dirty, they're organized crime, obviously Russian organized crime, and you should be careful. Those are the messages. One of them was from a paralegal at one of the Boston legal services that I was working with 2 years ago. So when people of that caliber and that degree of credibility tell you that your landlord are being taken to court repeatedly for criminal activities and that the property manager himself is evidently part of a Russian organized crime situation, maybe you should pay attention, especially when this member, Mr. Eliseyev, keeps bragging about the use of Jasmine Irizarry as his fixer. He didn't call her a fixer. He simply said she's an incredibly talented hacker who can get into anything and take care of any problem. Those are the same exact words that Irizarry, the sex offender and psycho pig, made in written comments on my social media page, claiming that she gets paid a lot of money to, quote, take care of problems. I'm assuming if Irizarry gets paid a lot of money to, quote, take care of problems, which is to not leave certain people alone, such as myself, that she's not going to be sitting up in Boston twiddling her thumbs when I'm in another state attending to my personal business. Jasmine Irizarry made it a very clear and deliberate act to stand in my path when I was on my way down to the Amtrak platform at Back Bay Station on Sunday, June 15th, approximately 9:50 a.m. Irizarry has a very unusual, highly irreproducible, screeching, hyena-like laugh that she has been unleashing in my direction for 11 years in the building where she has been housed in the adjacent unit to mine by Mr. Eliseyev since 2013. Irizarry likes to make her presence known when she's in my vicinity by unleashing that same exact hyena-like laugh within like 15 feet of where I happen to be standing or walking to let me know that she's right there. I don't see. However, I do see large, bulky shapes. That would be Irizarry. She's a large, bulky shape, and she was standing right in the doorway of the Amtrak stairwell at Back Bay Station as I was heading towards that stairwell on Sunday, June 15th, to head down here to another state. If Irizarry, as Mr. Oleg Alisiev keeps bragging, is such a talented hacker, then she obviously has knowledge of everything that I say and do on my phones and mobile devices, including my travel itineraries and the location of where I happen to be. The same thing happened a year ago last summer when I was down here taking care of Dad when he was injured and had some medical appointments to go to. Irizarry exhibited the same exact identical pattern of sickening amounts of marijuana smoke coming from that unit, which was also interestingly vacant last summer. I guess the single mom owner likes to vacate her unit during the summer months and isn't really there for much of the time. Maybe she's renting it out to Irizarry, the psycho, trash, sex offender, perving, creeping pig on a regular basis. And that's where Irizarry continues to use a directed energy weapon to electronically assault me when I do one of 3 very specific exact activities that she gets triggered by when I'm up in my unit in Boston, engaging in personal activities up in my unit in Boston that nobody should have any knowledge of. Irizarry claims to be BLM. This would make sense because nothing that BLM does makes sense. BLM is not a benevolent charity that elevates the Black community. They actually do the opposite. They are an embarrassment to the Black community, as documented and detailed in a brilliant documentary made by Candace Owens herself, a African-American female who thinks that BLM are disgusting, perving, creeping psycho pigs. And she detailed that in an hour-long documentary, and I'm a huge fan of that documentary because it corroborates everything I've been experiencing from the BLM hate-stalking, masturbating perverts in my building who are being sponsored by Mr. Alisiev, and everybody knows this, for 11 years. Irizarry was placed very conveniently in the unit next to mine, Unit 78, at 5 Union Ave in 2013, and she has been engaging in the same exact identical, unique, unduplicatable behavioral pattern for 11 years. And now that unduplicatable behavioral pattern is occurring down here in another state. She slams things against the wall. She smokes insane amounts of marijuana right now. It's cigar and marijuana smoke coming from that corner. The single mom who lives next door doesn't do this. I mean, she was here enough days during my first week down here that she doesn't smoke at all. And her kid and her dog don't smoke either. Yeah. And as I keep reporting, I am so sensitive to marijuana and cigar smoke that I have to open all the windows, not just down here, but when Irizarry is propagating it throughout my living space up in Boston. And then I start to cough and it gets really gritty and nasty. I have a hard time breathing when there's smoke of that intensity filling a large ventilated living space in huge amounts. There's only one person who I've ever crossed paths with who is capable of rapidly and very quickly filling an entire space with overpowering, sickening amounts of cigar and marijuana smoke that are so thick that even with the windows and doors open, you start coughing and choking on it. She has some type of propagation device. I don't know if it's a fan or some type of a vaping device or a burner that literally fills an entire room of this size with sickening amounts of smoke that is usually very gritty and nasty, like cigar and marijuana combined. And she's been using a directed energy weapon on me throughout this morning when I went into the bathroom to try to use it. When I lay out flat on my back in the room where I'm staying, it's the same exact pattern of her triggered use of a directed energy device because she's a psychotic pervert that she has exhibited up in Boston and I've made dozens of videos about. I've made dozens of videos of how Jasmine Irizarry, the paid, sponsored BLM pedophile sex offender pig, has been engaging in up in Boston, thanks to her property manager sponsor, Oleg Alisiev, a reported member of Russian organized crime. Why the Russians love BLM and why they're sponsoring them in large numbers in my building complex, I don't know. But all you need to do to verify this is take a look at the racial demographic and gender demographic of that building complex. It's 3 buildings, 191 Green Street, 187 Green Street, 5 Union Ave. It is almost entirely all male sex offenders who are either African American, almost entirely, or Latino male. I don't think there's a single Caucasian male, except maybe the sex offender pervert Jason DaCosta, who's also an obsessive stalker and threatened to kill me before the police moved him out of his unit next to mine 3 or 4 months ago. This piece of shit continues to not leave me alone either, and likes to hang around the complex where I come and go and gets in my path. He's a sick and twisted piece of shit that should probably just go jump off a cliff because he's a compulsive masturbating pervert, can't leave women alone. He goes by Kevin on YouTube. Check out how many nasty comments Kevin on YouTube has made on my videos. That is Jason DaCosta. I would know. I lived next door to him for 3 years. And for 3 years, the wireless network titled Kevin was at the top of my wireless network list of wireless networks that were within the vicinity of mine. That would be Kevin, aka Jason DaCosta, the sex offender pedophile resident of Unit 88 at 5 Union Ave for 3 years until a few months ago when the police moved him or asked the management to move him to another building because he kept threatening to kill me and slamming things against my door when I was standing at my sink, minding my own business with the door closed. So again, Irizarry bragging that she's a activist getting paid by Mr. Alisiev and aka BLM. Alisiev is sponsoring BLM and they're getting funded by George Soros and other donors. She's exhibiting right now the same exact identical pattern, very unique, very activity specific and surveillance based now, as she has been doing in my unit of residence in and around it for 11 years. So it's the same person. I have a PhD level education in clinical developmental psychology, an advanced 5-year Master of Science degree in clinical developmental psychology. And I was actually at the Shattuck Hospital in 2006, conducting a clinical training internship at the Shattuck Hospital when an inmate named Irizarry was being treated at the Shattuck Hospital. And she was a psychopath. Even back then, she was an adolescent. She would have been around 16 or 17, who was being treated for being a psychopath who compulsively vomited and smeared her body fluids on other staff and other inmates. And so people had to wear protective gear around her. She's still doing that. She likes to break and enter into people's living spaces by picking the lock, which she has done to my unit on multiple occasions over the last 11 years, and stood in the doorway and displayed her fat self. Not that I have a problem with fat people. I support anybody who tries to help themselves and take care of their issues, but Irizarry doesn't do anything to help herself. She deliberately engages in some very destructive lifestyle and activities towards herself and other people and refuses to do anything to help herself. I'm not sure why she was at the Shattuck Hospital if she is now living a life of paid criminal activity as a sponsored and official criminal harasser and perving, creeping sex offender who has bragged about being a IT expert and who, as the property manager put it, is the Greenville Group's surveillance expert. So when a surveillance expert, meaning somebody who specializes in placing little tiny surveillance devices in other people's living spaces, continues to engage in the same exact identical surveillance-based pattern of stalking, harassment, and physical harm in another state that she has been doing up in my unit in Boston for 11 years, then you know you're dealing with the same person.